because we are back with someone who joined us from the RNC, a former Democratic candidate for president, and as I said during that stream, author of 450,000 books. Marianne Williamson, thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you. But did you just say I was joining you from the RNC?
No, you did join us from the RNC. Do you remember?
Oh,
yes, it was you. Yes, it was from home. It was a Zoom.
I've been trying to figure out what are you talking about.
Yeah,
no, right. Then we did. I do remember.
We did.
Yeah, fun.
Tell me what you have made of the speeches of the convention so far. What's your general takeaway from it?
I thought the talk tonight from the parents of the hostage, Hirsch, was very moving. You know, because I've run. Because I feel that I'm speaking from sort of the inside the belly of the beast.
Yeah.
I see two separate universes.
Yeah.
One universe is that which is for me, it's for many people, a conviction that Donald Trump should not be president again. And therefore, a decision that I will vote for. Appears to be Kamala Harris, seems to be the only. But the hoopla of the machinery, the performative drama, I see as a product of a system that is very problematic. And even though we have an immediate issue here, which is to make sure in this case that Kamala wins, on the other side of this, I feel that there's a deep-seated corruption within the political system, that none of this hoopla, it's like whipped cream on top of some very, really corrupt and poisonous stuff. The political system in itself, that I see as a reflection of some of the worst aspects of our modern culture.
Can you unpack that a little bit? Tell us about the poison, where exactly it is, how we could fight it.
Well, you know, I used to feel that too often these political parties were representing the interests of huge corporate entities. Now I realize they are huge corporate entities. They're not just representing the interests of huge corporate entities, and they behave at times with the ruthlessness and the soullessness that we associate with too much of modern capitalism. I think there's such an ethical breakdown in our society. I think that in anything, the process by which you achieve a goal is as important as the goal, and ultimately determines, you know, Gandhi said the end is inherent in the means. Modern politics has this ruthlessness, the end justifies the means. Doesn't matter who we mess with. But as Gandhi said, the end is inherent in the means. And there's this ethical carelessness, recklessness. And we talk about how, and I think this gets into much of what I've heard you talk about, we talk about how it's the dominance of money. It's more than that. It's the ethical breakdown in American society today. The things that are considered okay to do, and especially in politics. And I see, and yet, for me, part of the ethical issue is that not time to talk about too much of that right now, however, because the biggest job is to make sure that Donald Trump is not president again. So there are many, it's like a circus with many rings for someone like myself.
You know, for people who generally agree with that analysis of American politics, I mean, you can't help but feel despair in some way that, you know, you are not somebody who's destitute. You have a name. People know who you are. You have money. You can raise money, and you just run into a wall. There's no way to get through it. So those of us who say, like,
add to the list of reasons that is shameful is you had a platform that represents where the actual base of your party is at.
That's right.
And you brought love and spirituality, which we are all very much lacking to the process. So I just wanted to add to this.
I'm lacking too. I have no spirit. I'm just
to the outrage of how you were stonewalled. So we have finished.
But you know, I mean, it's the boring but necessary question: is that how do you fix this? Because you tried, in the sense that you're running for the presidency of the United States of America, and you know, as you say, that the Democratic Party, much like the Republican Party, are themselves corporations, right?
There's so much with what you said and with what you said. First of all, the kind of money that I have and that I am able to raise is so minuscule compared to the amounts of money that these machines are operating with. That's number one. Number two, I think it's really interesting something you said, because I agree with what you said. What someone like myself is talking about is where people are. And when you said people despair, I would despair were it not for the fact that I get that the people are not the problem.
Yeah.
I traveled all over this country for the last year and a half. And remember, I did this before. The American people are ready for deep, true, real, noble. You know, we're hardwired to do great things in this country. I mean, we're a country that elected Abraham Lincoln. So I don't get that the American people aren't ready for depth. I mean, I've known this in my career for a long time. People hear you at the level you speak to them from. You have a real conversation about the Declaration of Independence. I don't care if it's Democrats or Republicans, they lean in. Let's talk about what happened in 1776. Let's talk about what happened with women's suffragists and abolition and the founding of the labor movement and segregation and civil rights movement. The people are ready to get real, but there is institutional resistance to the kind of depth that I think is the conversation we need to be having, because nothing else is deep enough to sustain us. I'll give you an example. You're talking about all the rah-rah, happiness, joy. And we need to be facing what a sobering moment this is. People are dying because we're not getting it right. I'm not even saying who's not getting it right. That's not even the question, but that we're not getting it right. The people who are dying in Gaza and Israel, the people who are dying in Ukraine, the people who are dying deaths of despair, the opioid crisis, children afraid of guns. We're not. And, I have a career that's been with people who, the joke about me has been, nobody calls Marianne when things are going well. It's when that's just how my career developed because of my work with AIDS. Somebody just got the news, the test results came back, it's cancer. Your child is addicted to meth, somebody died. And I've seen over and over again what happens when people get the worst news. Within 5 minutes, layers of ultimately meaningless preoccupation just drop away. And people get really adult really fast and really mature really fast. And that's where this country is ready to be. But we have to get there. And I think the people are ready to get there. People know this isn't it. And so, once again, when this is over, no matter what happens, no matter who wins, I don't care what side of the political spectrum you're on, if you think that if your guy wins or your girl wins, no matter who it is, then everything's going to be great. Something needs to, I read about the idea that these are chaotic times, that there's chaos out of which will come a new order. But I think we have to be in a very wise and sober and serious and grown up. It's so immature. I think our main political conversation is not worthy of us, not deep enough.
Can I ask you about Trump specifically? Because, he came to a party, one of these corporate machines, the RNC, at a time when the party was, neocon, pro-war, free trade, free market oriented, anti-abortion, anti-gay, and anti-union. And he has sort of reshaped the party. It's now anti-trade, anti-war, abortion, states' rights, 15 weeks. It's pro-gay. He took the anti-abortion and anti-gay marriage language out of the RNC's platform for the first time in 40 years. He really took a wrecking ball to that corporate entity. Do you not find anything in that to admire, if not in terms of content, at least in terms of strategy? Oh, and the pro-union thing, having, Sean O'Brien speak at the RNC. Is there nothing there that sort of boosts your spirits about the possibility of such creative chaos and destruction towards more of a people-oriented platform?
Well, first of all, I don't think it's a more people-oriented platform. But the first things that you were saying are the product of a powerful leader. But there are powerful leaders who represent great moral advancement, and there are powerful leaders that represent regression. And history is filled with both. So the fact that he was able to take an institution and reshape it, I will give you that. The idea that he's weak and ineffective is absurd. I'll give you that. From my perspective, when I think of the traditions, Eisenhower said that the American mind at its best is both liberal and conservative. I do get that there are high-minded conservative principles and high-minded liberal principles. I think he's run roughshod over high-minded conservative principle. So the fact that he's smashed the machine, which is, I do think, why so many people supported him to begin with. Yeah, he smashed the machine. He had the power personality to do that. So did some of the worst people in history. So do I see any good in some of what he's done? Yeah, there are some places where I can say, oh, he got a point. That's not to be discounted. But in terms of his overall effect, first of all, his pathological lying, his character, his lack of any sense of serious, even understanding, much less respect for the traditions of American democracy. So those things override for me facts that every once in a while I'll give it to you. I'll say, that's interesting that he said that, and I won't make fun of him for those things the way some of people on the left will do, including some things he said recently.
Marianne, you obviously think the greatest danger to America right now is another Trump presidency. You also have a very dim view of the Democratic Party. If Kamala Harris is the only kind of bulwark against another Trump administration, would you go out and campaign for her?
Yes, and also you just said I have a dim view of the Democratic Party. Yeah. I would actually...
The machine, I should say that, right?
Yeah, yes, and I think that there's a misunderstanding on the part of the party. I grew up in a home where no matter what year it was, if there was an election and you asked my father, who'd you vote for, Daddy? He said Roosevelt. I mean, I grew up in a home that was so Democratic and had been a Democrat all my life. I ran as a Democrat because I believe in the traditional pillars of the Democratic Party, which is namely that the powers of government can be used to help people. I'm in that sense, a Democratic traditionalist. So whereas some people within the Democratic Party today look at someone like myself, like she's trying to hijack the party. No, they hijack the party. I represent the voices of Franklin and Eleanor, and to me, they represent the DuPonts and the Whitneys and the Morgans.
People that say you're trying to hijack the party.
Nobody thinks I'm that powerful.
No, I know. But you said
the ideas. Yeah. It's people like
I was going to say, who are these insane people?
No,
if you go into the convention hall, are you treated in a particular way? Do they say, "Oh my God, this is Marianne"?
No, it's bigger than that.
Like you?
They wouldn't give me a ticket.
Oh my God!
Really?
They wouldn't give me a ticket. Now listen to this.
Oh my God!
I did get, despite. So I know. I'm laughing. It's so absurd. So let's think about this. So what we have is a political media industrial complex. So from the first day I announced this time, first of all, let's go back 4 years. I was given, I think for a minor candidate, I think last time I was given, they make fun of me. They're going to make fun. They're going to make. Yeah. But in general, I was on CNN a fair amount, given that I was a minor candidate. Same with MSNBC. I got a CNN town hall. This time, get rid of it. There will be no opposition to Joe Biden. I was blacklisted on CNN. I was blacklisted on MSNBC, and that's Tulsi Gabbard talks about that. It's a playbook. There was a decision it would be Joe, and it was said that there was no other credible candidate. In their mind, we're not. To me, the qualification should be the qualifications as articulated in the Constitution of the United States. I fit. Yeah. Also, this idea that we don't primary an incumbent. Well, I'm old enough to remember when Eugene McCarthy primaried Lyndon Johnson. Nobody thought it was weird. We thought it was democracy. People primary incumbent senators and congresspeople and mayors. I mean, that's what you do in a democracy. But and then, despite all that, we got 500,000 votes. So how much more could I be in the process as a Democrat? And they wouldn't even give me a ticket. I couldn't even get in. I can't. I've been here in Chicago. I can't get in.
But you still came.
I came to Chicago. Well, came to Chicago because I thought a lot of stuff was happening like this around it. I wanted to be in. But then friends have said to me, well, we can't, like one woman who's working, she said, oh, I'm here and I'm doing stuff and I can get you in. And then two people, including a former head of the DNC, that I'll get you a ticket, both said to me, well, we need to know first that you're giving a full-throated endorsement of Kamala.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Thank you, Batya. Thank you.
This is horrifying. This is
thank you. Thank you.
I'm thinking about this, and like,
thank you.
And they call the other side dictators. Like
thank you,
this is a dictatorship of like they're so terrified of her weakness, they will not let you in the building.
No, it's so absurd.
Oh my God.
And yes, I am voting for Kamala.
Well, that's what makes this even
But
more
I don't owe it to
upsetting.
you to what?
Because compare you to RFK Jr. and how he has behaved throughout this entire process.
But I don't like what they're doing to him either.
But the lack of grace and the just this is so unacceptable. I mean, I cannot believe this. I mean, shock. Have you ever heard of anything like this?
Yes.
And by the way,
Yes.
by
For
the way,
hundreds of years, I've heard of it. Yeah.
but I want to say something else here. If 500,000 people voted for me in a close election,
Don't you want those voters?
No.
yeah. I mean, when I got out of the election last time, when I got out of the race, Bernie Sanders called me. Elizabeth Warren called me 3 times to ask if I would endorse. Last time was very different.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's so upside down. It's supposed to, what I have to prove to you, I think it's supposed to be the other way, you know?
Yeah.
And like I said, they're different rings and we can't have Donald Trump. So,
Well, Marianne Williamson, you've come to Chicago. We hope that we see you breach the gates to get inside the United Center.
I hope so.
I mean, let's see what we can do. Let's
Um,
get some tickets for you.
I said,
Get
that's
you in there.
okay. I'll go do the free press.
Yes, that exactly
I'll
right.
go do the free press.
You're
They-
always welcome.
Yeah,
there.
thank you.
Losing-
Thank you. And I'd love to talk about some other things. And let's talk about Israel sometime. I'd love
Yes.
to do that with you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Marianne Williamson, thank you very much for
Thank
being
you.
here. And we talked at the top of this hour, wherever the hell we are, with this very bizarre convention and the bizarre timing of it, which they only tell you by the day of.
I
You have
know.
no idea what's happening.
RNC, by the way, they would tell you at 10 a.m.
Yeah.
Literally, it was like, this
the
one's
minute.
speaking
Yeah.
at 10:04,
Yeah.
and this one's speaking at. It was very organized.
But we talked at the top about the kind of the patriotic vibe, the kind of trying to be a little more bipartisan
Which I
and inclusive.
disputed.
But you disputed.
Oh, wait, I have to
and
add one more
inclusive.
thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I have to have one more
Yeah.
thing, okay?
Yeah.
I was going to speak at a caucus today. It's called Progress Libs. I was not because I was told, are you ready? Drum roll, drum roll,
Yeah.
drum
Oh
roll.
no.
I'm too old.
They told you that?
I know. We got to make sure everybody has a voice. POC, LGBTQ, trans,
Yeah.
Everybody's got to have a voice, which I agree. But meanwhile, half of America's seniors are living on less than $28,000 a year. It is absolutely a crisis in their lives when they don't have hearing aids, glasses, dental. But no, you can't speak. You're too old.
They didn't say that about Joe Biden
That
for a very long
wasn't the
time, by the
DNC,
way.
but it was someone in one of the issues around, and I
Oh
thought,
my God.
yeah, I can't even. I'm even kicked out of the ring around the thing. Yeah, no, thanks for having me on, guys.
Well, we had Marianne Williamson on, despite her age, because we don't discriminate like that. We love her. We love her 85,000 books that sell 80 million copies apiece. Check them out. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mary,
Thank you for having me.
joining
It's
us.
wonderful to meet you.
And let's throw to this clip here because we were talking about this before, about that kind of attempt at inclusivity and it, kind of making the left flank of the Democratic Party cringe a little bit. This is Barack Obama in a kind of coded way talking about, I don't know, what do we call it? Wokeism? Is that right? Is that what we call it?
That
It's
is
kind of
what
a
we
dumb
call it.
word, but let's take a look at Barack Obama.